Ooh, right. We'll just do our cold opening because we always do cold openings and then we do generally an introduction. So fuck it. Right. Okay. Cool. Oh, how's it going, Mark?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Yeah,
A bit
I'm
tired
fucking
because
knackered.
I've not even got into what I did all year yesterday. I spent all day yesterday doing the most goth thing possible. I was rescuing a crow.
You were rescuing a fucking crow.
Yeah, Louise came, like, literally, like, within seconds of me getting out of bed, Louise came upstairs because she normally tumbles off for a little while before I get up. And she came in holding an injured crow. It was just very quietly just in her hands
Wow.
like this. So we spent all day kind of putting him in a cat carrier, feeding him up, and finding a wildlife rescue that would take him, which took literally all day.
Jesus Christ, that's wow. Okay.
We
Well,
ended up going to
that's
the
good. Crows are good.
most liminal of
So,
places, the most cursed and stark and grimdark of locations in the end. Burton-on-Trent, which, if you've ever been, is a fascinating
oh,
place.
I've been
But yeah,
through.
the
Oh,
little stinky crow's doing fine, and he will be just fine. We did the right thing, so that's always nice.
I'm trying to think what else has been going on. That's not wargaming related. Oh no, it's all been wargaming related. Shit. No, I did get through. I need to do an unboxing of
Yeah.
Imperium Maledictum starter set. So that's pretty cool. And what else do we do? I recorded my first battle report for Warmachine. I say first battle report at home. So that
Yeah.
was an experience. I think I need to play with lighting and camera angles, and I think mostly I need to have 3 cameras going, not 2.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun and games. But yeah, that was all good.
It's amazing how
Otherwise,
just
yeah,
it's amazing how just like simple things like lighting and stuff. I'm just trying to get a better photography setup in my new
yeah,
house. I feel like I'm starting all over again. Like I've not been posting
right.
much online in my miniatures anymore for a year or so because I've never bothered setting up in my last place. But I thought I'd make a push of it here, and it's just I feel like I'm learning from scratch, like I've never held a camera before. Like every photo I take is
Yeah.
just blurry and wrong, but we're getting there.
Oh, I know, right? It's because because White Dwarf wanted me to send in some better pictures of some models for White Dwarf, and I was just like, oh, for God's sake, like, why are these out of why were the original ones not good enough? And just trying to work that out. And it generally comes down to the most simple thing of like, use a fucking tripod.
Yeah.
Um,
Tripod, all the
use a
lights in the
tripod.
world, and blank and white GW white background for anything else,
Oh,
not white
GW white
background.
background, yeah. Yeah, I need to. I think I need to get. That's my next on my list. I think is more better miniatures lighting.
Yeah,
Um,
so I've
yeah,
got a load of like quite high intensity photography lamps because I used to do a lot of toy photography in my previous life when I was collecting very high end transformers. I still have a lot of stuff left over from that, but it's because those were generally quite a bit bigger than yeah, all but a night. It's amazing how much a difference what I learned from that doesn't transfer over, which is so stupid.
yeah.
Especially because now I've
Right.
got some, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm so you can tell I'm so tired because like yesterday was lead and steel, so I was running more demos all day of War Machine there, and like obviously the week before was Chillcon, which we both went to. So we should have a chat about Chillcon because like
Yep.
we've got both different experiences of it. Because I was
Yeah.
chained to a table,
Yeah,
um,
and I was just free roaming customer.
and then we've got like all the Adepticon stuff that's interesting to just quickly chat about. Or, I say quickly, we'll go through what the highlights were. So, where do you want to start? What's been
Oh, Chillcon.
exciting you? Let's talk Chilcon. Okay.
Chill.
I'll cover my bit first because it's dead
Yeah.
simple. Right. Is first time I've been to Chilcon. It was in a big it was at the Hillsborough Community College. So we were in the sports hall. So already I guess seems like a fairly big venue. Plus there was use of other areas of the college. So for seminar rooms and other kind of like
Yeah.
display and shopping space. I think I was running War Machine demos all day, so that went I think pretty well. I think a lot of people were interested in the game and enjoyed the demos and liked the look of the models. I think the main thing that struck me was like how much like even that, like retailers wise, I think there was only one place that was selling. Yeah, there was only one place selling Warhammer.
Yeah,
You
it was
know,
the Traveling Man
Games
booth. That
Workshop
was
stuff.
literally, yeah, literally only do you do stuff there was from the Traveling Man booth.
We had Mantic there running demos and selling their stuff,
Yep.
and then everyone else is like a independent retailer of, you know, some
Yeah, like
independent small indie miniatures brand, or a kicks, you know, starting up a new war game. In the case of, what was it, War on Terror.
yeah,
um
yeah,
so in that case, I think it was really good, because it's just like,
yeah,
it was just a lot of stuff you would generally never see. Like, I think the only other place you would see that amount of weird stuff is mostly like Salute, I guess, and yeah, like UK Games Expo, and I'm sure other smaller games conventions are much the same. But I guess that's the point. It's like at UK Games Expo, also there are so many stalls selling Games Workshop stuff at ridiculous discounts,
yeah,
whereas meaning you are going to the other retailers, whereas here it's just everything but Games Workshop, it felt like.
yeah, yeah. Because Warlord had quite a big stand as well, quite nice in
Yes.
the back with all of their army paid stuff as well. But yeah, it's. I mean, the whole industry reacts to GW because they are the lion in the room at all times. But it is nice seeing what that looks like without them present and without them kind of stealing the energy they are out of the room. Um, yeah, like you do end up like looking at things you might not normally look at, but when you know got the half price big box Age of Sigmar edition that's like 2 years old and they can't get rid of them anymore, like strapped
Yeah,
in with your wallet. So yeah, like I came within a hair's breadth of buying the Mantic Halo game because I've had my eyes on that for a long while, and me and my brother had a lot of fun with Halo 3 and Reach back in the day and ODST.
okay.
And he keeps like dipping his toes back into miniature painting. Now he's got a son of his own. It's just getting to the age where he can hold a brush without covering everyone else apart from the miniature and stuff. So that's going to happen at some point, but not today.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. um so like, what else was going on at Chillcon that I didn't see? Because I know
Well,
behind me was the Painter Space Marine in 20 minutes challenge.
yeah, yeah. There was a bunch of like painting and conversion like sessions, and they had that quite structured quite nicely. It was running regularly, and they had like quite subtly marked like this one's a more serious one. This is the one where if you're five, just slap some paint on space and you'll have a good time, which is a nice way of doing it because it means that it sets expectations. It's quite fun watching all of the YouTubers and influencers kind of hovering, waiting for the prop one to start.
Mm,
And yeah, it was
yeah.
a lot of. I mean, it tells it's shifting industry. A lot of stalls there were obviously one or two people that have started their own companies because they've got 3D printer and they're just
Yeah.
doing their own designs, what I hope their own designs, and churning out a bunch of models and stick them in clamshells and selling them for a tenner. Which, in fact, that's now an option. Before you don't have to get into lead casting anymore if you don't
No.
want, which is
And you don't have to
really
get into like resin casting, because that's
no,
also
yeah, again,
a
all
bit of a
that settled.
mess.
It just if you've got a half decent 3D printer now, it makes it, especially if you start getting once you've got that dialed in, if you know what your supports for your individual sculpts need, then you can just churn them out all day. It's it's a great thing, especially for those like both of us, where we are not particularly interested in pursuing 3D printing ourselves due
Yeah.
to space and. Well, everyone I know that's into 3D printing, their hobby is 3D printing. It's not playing and painting and modeling. All they do is talk. Oh, and I
Don't worry,
dropped.
I'm turning off your camera for the bit rate on here, because it might
Good
improve
idea.
the signal quality. Don't
Sorry, you only see me being sleepy as well. Yeah,
worry, we're not
and it's
recording video anyway for this, so I thought it's easier for the call quality for
that's
you.
probably a good idea. Yeah, and it's just like losing that amount of hobby time just to play around with 3D printers is not something I'm interested in. And I talk to people, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't feel that way. So just having the people that want to do that, and provide it for the rest of us at a reasonable cost is the way forward. And when I was chatting
Yeah.
to, I forgot his name, the guy from who's running War on Terror, the Kickstarter,
Hmm.
because that's all. It's just two guys that had a crazy dream and kickstarted it and got enough money to get it together to buy a daft decent 3D printer, basically. And then he's taught himself how to sculpt in Blender, and he's just basically churned out a bunch of like factions and wholesale and printed them off myself. And I bought a box of like can't remember basically grey aliens. I think they've all got different faction names and sub factions, and just bought a box of those, and they are fantastic. They go together nicely. It's not over complex in a way that a lot of 3D printed models are. They're just chunky, nice, and great. And I'm looking forward to throwing some paint on them at some point soon.
Mm. I think, yeah, it was good. It was good to catch up with a few people as well. There, I know, because I was chained, like I say, chained to a table, so I didn't see any of the seminars.
Yeah, I only caught one of those because there were
Which one did you go to?
jugs.
You went to Jugs Live,
Jugs
yeah.
Live. I had to go look at the jugs, which was hilarious as you can imagine, and really stupid and surprisingly like touching at times. I think
Yeah.
yeah, like seeing the feedback from. I mean, this is due to the nature of those guys being the face of GW for a fair chunk of time. They
Mm-hmm.
had a very specific audience of like quite younger fans that have followed them to their new content, which is really nice to see. It is kind of
Yeah.
damning on the part of GW the fact that they didn't recognise that and pay them more than a pittance.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah.
you ever looked at like GW's wages in any like in depth, they're insulting, absolutely insulting.
It is ridiculous. Like, yeah, like I couldn't, I could never go work for them
Yeah.
for anything. Like, it just doesn't pay a salary that I could live on.
Same. And I'm a civil servant. It would be stepped down
Yeah,
for me
right.
to say something.
Yeah. So who did I see? So yeah, I had so obviously Louise Sugden was there with the team with Rogue Hobbies, so that was kind of cool to see the stall for that and all their stuff. That seems to be going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
The paint competition had a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. I didn't get much of a chance to have a look at everything.
Yeah, it was really high quality though.
Yeah. And then I think the thing that was interesting also is off the back of doing being interviewed for the painting phase, was getting a few people coming up to me saying hi because they recognised me from that and therefore want to know more about Warmachine. So that was actually nice to have people say that, and that happened yesterday at Lead and Steel as well. So people have been saying thank you for the work on Wrath and Glory, and I think I got a chance to, because I know Chris Peach only just got recently from Steamforged the Shadow and Scum Warmachine starter, so he popped over to say hi because I was like, wait a minute, dude, you can see the miniatures put together because you've only just got yours on the sprue. So I think he's quite.
He mentioned that in passing on not the Warmachine specifically, but in the panel, he did say like, I keep getting sent so many starter boxes, I don't know what to do with them all.
Yeah, right. But I think he's quite taken by the Trollkin because they're red coats, so that's totally up his street, that one. And then I had a quick chat to Dave from MS Paints because hopefully I'll get to do some. I might do something. Be a guest on his channel because I think that'll be good because he's an old Warmachine fan, so it'd be good to do a more in-depth talk without having to chat about Games Workshop crap because it's always easy just to talk about working on the Warhammer RPGs because it's Warhammer related, but like
everyone knows it. It's that familiarity. It's easy.
It's better. It's more interesting to me to talk about in some respects, talk about Warmachine. So overall, then Adepticon, I think, not Adepticon, Chillcon, I think was pretty fucking awesome, actually.
Yeah, I really highly recommend it. In fact, I'm gonna have to push it to my friends next year because it was really strange being in a convention in my hometown and seeing more YouTubers, like recognizing more YouTubers and influencers from Instagram than I did from my own like local board game shops and my own like hobby spaces. Because I do play a lot of Warhammer in places like Element Game, well, not Patriot Games and the Outpost in Sheffield. And the Outpost did have a presence there. I did chat to the manager Dan, who's again, if you're not been to the shop, so great.
Yeah, the new location at Outpost is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Annoyingly, they've moved just across the road from where my flat I'm moving out of is. So if
Yeah.
we'd done that a year or two ago, my life would have been so much better.
But yeah, I think next year, I wouldn't mind doing the same again.
Yeah.
But I think I definitely need to recruit a second person to
Yeah.
just save my voice, save my legs, and give me a chance to walk around. And then that also would give the opportunity to actually run like 2 tables of demos.
Yeah.
That would be good. So then, yesterday, I'll go over. I'll say what Lead and Steel was like. So Lead and Steel is a Old Hammer themed event that's up in Sheffield again, taking place this year at. Last year it was at Outpost in Outpost's old location.
Yeah.
This year it was at. This year it was at Crook's Social Club. So basically, it's a pub, but with big event spaces. Because it's a social club, and we have those sort of things, unlike in the US. So, and it was there was about let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There were 9 tables of games going on. There were 3 indie miniatures manufacturers there. Bad Squiddo Games was there with a few things. So Annie from Bad Squiddo was there, and then there was a guy there that had the most ridiculous horde of like secondhand minis, armies, stuff new in box from like 3rd edition 40k, old codexes, old White Dwarfs, old Warmachine books, old Confrontation books, all of that there. So that was obviously exciting for people.
I'm glad I wasn't there because I was quite restrained at Chillcon. I'm not sure I could have been restrained with that.
Yeah,
I'm in such an
exactly.
old hammer phase at the moment. It would have killed me.
And then the games being run were like, because there was like some people playing 1st edition Necromunda,
Oh
so
gosh.
they were running that as a big multiplayer, like 10 people playing, which is crazy.
Yeah, like especially with those rules, like I can't imagine the arguments.
Yeah,
So,
right.
as much as I have those rules ingrained in me and like could probably still play a game now, just like the
Yeah.
minutiae around combat is still so picky and so open to discussion.
Yeah, well, Necromunda's always open discussion, to be honest. So then there was also some Mordheim. There was some original Adeptus Titanicus. Some 2nd edition 40k. There was
I am sad I missed this now.
one table they first were playing Battlefleet Gothic, and then the second game they were running was a multiplayer Mana War game. There was a 4th edition Warhammer game going on using the scenario out of the 4th edition Warhammer box. So essentially, it was taking what you would get in the Warhammer 4th edition box, but
It's like the
removing.
Britannias versus Lizardmen one.
No, this is the
Yeah.
orcs versus. This is goblins versus elves.
Ah, okay.
So they also had the minis for what would have been the card standees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had like Azhag, and you had Grom the Paunch, and whoever it is on the Griffin, and so forth. So they were running that scenario.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then there was there was a table doing demos of Trench Crusade, and then finally there was my table running more Warmachine, because I snuck in Warmachine. But Warmachine's 20 years old and has barely changed its rule set, so
And the most of the models I'm painting right now for my Warmachine Warband are still usable in current rules, but they are all pewter. So lead and steel.
Oh yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's
So it was pretty good. Like, I mean, I think the aim, like, compared to the previous year, then I would say it's effectively like doubled in size. I think they're aiming to next year be able to grab the actual event hall at the social club,
Cool.
so that it can be double the size again. And I think that'll be really good. And the fact that it's like, it's a social club means there's that the bar was open all day. So, unlike Chillcon, you can actually go there, and if you're not driving or anything, you can go war game and have a pint as you're
It's
gaming,
my favorite combination.
which is a
When
great combo.
So good. In fact, it was I played some games with you when it was the War Games night at the Working Men's Club for a while on Farm Road.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. That's still
yeah,
that club still runs as well.
because again,
Um,
the beer prices in a Working Men's Club and combining like a couple of pound a pint with just nice chill with big tables and relaxed wargaming is just can't be beat.
I think it says something, doesn't it, about like at least in particular, like northern UK, northern England, mostly the same with Scotland and Wales. Like, so anywhere that used to have like coal mining, steel industry, or similar. If there's working men's clubs, they had working men's clubs, and they're still open, and I bet all of them. I bet a good majority of them host, war games clubs, because they're so long as everyone at least buys a drink, non-alcoholic or otherwise, um, it keeps those places, those third spaces running, which
Yeah,
you just don't have in the US. Like I was talking to Brendan on the last episode of this, and he was basically saying we don't have those
yeah.
type of cheap event spaces like to run to happily run a club, let alone run a convention, a mini, a small convention.
Yeah, well, whenever you see them popping up in America, like, I can't, it's going to kill me. I can't remember what it was, but there was Eric's Hobby Workshop did a video a few months ago about a big Mordheim session, and that was in like a nice community hall and stuff, and but that was in the middle of nowhere. Can't remember where it was now. And the fact that you had people from all over the US and beyond flying to this tiny little town because it just had that nice little space, which again is something we do take for granted here. That most towns, even kind of what we consider shitty towns on the last legs, would have a nice working men's club with a community hall attached to it that you can rent out for pittance if you want to. And
Yeah,
it's
like even my hometown, like we're talking back down in deepest darkest Herefordshire, right? There are there are community event spaces you can hire out. Either there's the town hall, which would be a very chilly affair and is mainly used, as kind of like that's more like, for markets, you would have running like, food markets you would have running there. But there are indoor spaces as well that are easy to access. So yeah, I think it's one thing that we definitely have, and I think it's a different vibe to the US where they have to, use they have to game in shops, they have
yeah.
to game in the friendly local gaming store.
Well, a friend of mine
Um
who's really into what he always used to call beer hammer, just like relaxed Warhammer events. Massive Horus Heresy fan as well. I knew him, but he was basically waiting for one of his friends to finish their game because he was doing like a loft conversion or something to build a couple of big gaming tables, and that was then their community hub. But it was just a dude's house.
yeah,
And
right.
it's yeah,
Cool. Okay, so that's been events. Events coming up that are of interest. At the start of May, I'm at an event for Dracula Returns to Derby, which is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the first stage performance of Dracula. And this event that I'm going to, I am running a demo of an all-day demo game of Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition. There are other RPG demos going on of different vampire-related RPGs. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, I mean, it's really coming up on us. Like getting into April, and then end of May is UK Games Expo. So I'm going to go along. I'm thinking I'm going to go along on the Friday.
okay.
So Gehenna Gaming's going to be present. So I'm kind of like gonna be. I was thinking like, do I need to get a press pass or something? And it's like, nah, I don't have the. I think if I was going for more than one day, I may have
Yeah,
bothered, but I'm going to take some video and do interviews maybe. But I'm mainly going to be just going around repping for Gehenna Gaming and networking.
cool.
So that's the events coming up that I can think of, and I'm trying to think about some of the other ones. There's when is Bring Out Your Lead? Let me just Google that. Bring Out Your Lead is the first week of August,
Okay.
so that'll be one to go to because that's very old hammery.
Is that the one? Is it outskirts of Nottingham? That one?
Yeah, that's the one that takes place at where Foundry at Newark. Yeah,
Okay.
Nottingham.
Yeah,
Um,
I might be able to get to that one.
so that'll be good. I'll see if I can find some get something old hammery to paint. Maybe. It depends what they're running there.
I'm going to say I've still got my 10th edition Tyranids that I am wanting to convert and paint as a second edition Tyranid army, which I've got a couple of test models, which
Yeah.
nearly killed me, but I want to do that now. And I've managed to dig out my second edition Tyranid Codex, so I've actually got something to build it to now. And it's
Oh,
going to happen.
excellent! That's such a good codex. Such a good codex.
I know, just the bright red and the bright green.
I have fond memories of that codex because that was the first 40k army I ever bought. I think in total it cost me about 150 quid to get together a 40k army back then because it was like wasn't it something like for every 50 quid or something you got a 5 quid box set for free, so you were able to get like it basically meant you got all your termagants effectively for free.
I
Right.
was because
Yeah,
I rescued a bunch of my old codexes and army books from my parents' attic, which is where I dread to think how much the sum total value of army books and old Warhammers sat in the nation's attics. It's the nation's parents' attics specifically across the country. But I found a receipt. I think it was in my fourth or fifth edition Warhammer Fantasy Undead army book, and I found the receipt for when I purchased that, and it was me and my brother both buying. Must have been run up to Christmas something. We were both buying like run rampant in Games Workshop. I bought basically the greater part of an undead army before the split between Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings, and my brother bought an Imperial Guard army, which was a mixture of plastic and pewter at that point. And we both bought the army books, and I think it came to like 45 quid.
Wow.
And I was just crying looking at those prices.
Yeah, right. Though it's so funny. I keep saying like it's so funny in how sometimes we complain about like how expensive Games Workshop's got, but also there's certain things where if you do the maths on it, things are cheaper now than it ever was.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's my classic case example is Plague Monks. So it used to be back when I was working at Games Workshop when blisters had letters.
Yeah.
For the pricing, 3 metal Plague Monks were I think they were a D, so I think they were like 6 quid.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So to get a whole like
useful unit,
you get a unit of Plague Monks, you're not going to do less than 20. Come on, they're Skaven, right? So that's somewhere in the region of like 40 quid to do that, right?
Well, the whole time I was collecting undead and the vampire counts. Zombies were still blister packs for 3 for a £5.
Oh, fuck. I forgot. Zombies, yeah, would have been well expensive. Oh, that's why no one ever did zombies in
No, and then that first plastic kit they brought out in the late 90s was absolutely awful. Even at the time, like a lot of I have a massive amount of affection for a lot of the old Warhammer kits, but even when that came out, the initial zombie kit was awful. It's so bad, and like a massive step back from the pewter models they had.
I don't know. I still hands down say that the first plastic Chaos Warriors was like the shittiest things ever.
Oh yeah, that was really bad. I'm currently building a old world Chaos Army, and I've got a load of
right.
models mixed in there. It's gonna be a mixture of like modern Age of Sigmar Chaos Warriors and all the way back to Warhammer Quest, because I've got a couple of those Chaos Warriors. And the only ones I'm skipping completely are the first the Hunchback Chaos Warriors. the first double
Yeah,
spell plastic kit because it's not good. So not good. I think the only thing
bloody
I
awful.
used out of
Yeah.
that after the fact was the capes he got plenty of because there were some great
Oh
capes on
yeah.
that kit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get capes on it. Yeah. God. Oh yeah.
But
That was
but
that's a
even then,
flashback.
if you stuck them on the Chaos Warriors, they would just stick out completely horizontally and wouldn't let you regiment them up properly. So again, great thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was a weird little kit. Um. Right. Okay. Let's because we've mentioned Old World. Let's talk about the Adepticon like reveals from Games Workshop because
Nice segue.
overall, right. I think there's some good things, but there's also stuff that I feel was like kind of like it's nice, but it's also kind of like okay, you did that, fine.
It's
So
it's been fascinating because I follow pretty much everything that's hobby related on Reddit and just scrolling through my feed on the aftermath of the announcements, and it felt like every single sub faction and setting, even ones that had their own reveals, rather than talking about their own reveals, were going, "Ooh, I wonder how I can use this Cathayan lantern in my force. Ooh, I think these
right,
troops might make a really nice mixed human faction working with the Lumineth in Settlers Gain." And it's like it was that kind of approach. Everyone was so excited about that one faction, which is obviously the old world Cathay, Grand Cathay army,
yeah,
which
it's totally
is
dominated conversations. Yeah,
it's the first new Warhammer Fantasy army in 21 years, I think, since the Ogre Kingdoms,
that would be right. Yeah, yeah.
which I got. Again, I got for Christmas that year because I was so excited. Like, oh, Warhammer Army I can pick now. I have to pick 20 models.
Ogre Kingdoms aren't currently back in Old World yet, are they?
Yet, because a lot of the old world factions are in a very strange liminal space where enough of their models are still mainline Age of Sigmar, where main studio don't want to let them go because they don't want to have the loss of brand integrity and distinction between old world and Age of Sigmar. But they are
Yeah,
phasing out quietly a bunch of these liminal. They shot themselves in the foot as well by calling them legacy factions because Games Workshop have got an awful reputation built around anything referred to as legacy, as meaning you're not going to be able to use that for much longer. And it's always been the death knell of a force. So by immediately announcing a couple of years ago now, when they announced the factions for the old world, drawing that line under half your factions, including most of the beloved ones, well, let's be real, the actual ones people played, left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But also,
yeah,
the second they did it the other way, where they culled Beastmen from Age of Sigmar, obviously to bring them into Old World, it's just left a lot of forces in a weird liminal space. And if you talk to anyone that plays Age of Sigmar and plays, say, Cities of Sigmar, which are longest running faction, and finally getting their own identity now with their own kits in the last year or two, which are fantastic kits, but it instantly puts a question mark over the Dark Elves and the dwarves, which are still in the current book. Well, as of I've not checked the fourth edition book, but in the third edition, it's still in there. But now nobody's talking up. Nobody wants to start that army for Sigmar because now they're not mainline, they're not new hotness,
yeah.
and are they going to get quietly scooped back into the old world? Because they should.
Yeah,
But
because the I think what they need to do is they need to bring out for Cities of Sigmar. They need to bring out the kind of Age of Sigmar flavor of regular Duardin and
yeah,
regular like elves.
yeah.
Um,
I think
at the same
I wouldn't
time,
be
we're still waiting for. Go on, sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just quietly leave the Dark Elves out of the next refresh, and then we get a Shadow Elves, Umbra and Eth, or whatever they go for their name, with
Yeah,
not Malekith
Malarian.
anymore, is it? Malarian. Yeah, with Malarian's whole sub faction. It's probably those pots need to boil, and then Dark Elves will probably be more quietly dropped back into the old world because from the army list they released for these legacy factions, they are fascinating, and you get to see a very interesting insight into the design process because they are clearly they're not all on the same page. Like some of these are very first draft, some of them are very like we've taken the 6 or 8 edition army book and quietly scribbled out points, cost, and rules, and quickly penciled in what we've got working for the other mainline armies in that. And some of them are virtually finished. I think the vampire counts and the dark elves they feel really well rounded. They feel finished. They feel as solid and put together and detailed and give you as many options to build an army as any of the mainline factions. And
Yeah,
it's really, but that also the backside of that is, I think it's Chaos Demons and Skaven are shocking. And Lizardmen I've heard, but I've got no experience with Lizardmen. But for just flicking through the Skaven book, it is awful. There's stipulations upon stipulations. The building an army that even makes sense for like what you want to take is virtually impossible. And if you kind of stick, even if you, I do play a bit competitively. You know, I've good tournaments, so I'm not. I would never say I'm a competitive gamer because it's got a lot of connotations. But still, if you just want to bring something that it's not going to get wiped off the table in 2 turns. There's no real way of doing that. Even if you just like skim through the rulebook and go, okay, that's a powerful unit. I could do something with that. I can bring that. You're never going to have that with Skaven as written in the Legacy Armies pack, and it's fascinating because that's either just never been had a second pass after that first draft, or that is intentional because they don't want people playing with it. They want people to have Skaven as an Age of Sigmar army. I'm not going to buy into some grand conspiracy here, but it is fascinating how poor that list is.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say then is that I don't think it's going to be too long until Vampire Counts are back in Old World because we've got new Soulblight miniatures coming out.
We have. I think with the new pass, and this seems to be getting something the games are actually quite happy to do, where they're quite happy to have 2 versions of the same kit on sale as long as it's distinct between the 2 brands. Like we've got 2 sets of 9 goblins, one for Cthulhu Spire, one for Old World. And I think with this new pass of Soulblight,
because we're getting essentially new Graveguard.
Yeah, new Graveguard, new Black Knights, a bunch of new Wraith. Like there's not much left apart from like a few of the big pieces like the Mortis engine still in both. But again, could drop that out of Sigmar without massive pushback because it's not.
And of course, because we've got the new basic skeleton warriors that first kind of came out through Curse City and now have a box of the same style. It means classic skeleton warriors can go
drop back
to Old World because they fit rank and flank.
Yeah, and I mean the one I like the best in the split between Age of Sigmar and Old World is the Dryad models in the Wood Elves.
Oh yeah.
Games Workshop have got around this fantastically, where instead of releasing, I mean, they did have a metal kit for the Dryads back in the day, and they may re-emerge when they're released, but in all the photos in the book, they've avoided by instead of showing any of these Age of Sigmar models, the Dryads, they just don't have any Dryads on any of the army shots. So I would not be surprised if in a year or two's time we get a Vampire Counts release, things like the Mortis engine, anything that's still, if they still have any of these dual kits, just quietly not show it.
Yeah.
But that is fascinating, but I think the way they're going to go with it is just new armies, because the Cathayan army is genuinely fantastic, and it does.
I was going to say let's talk about Cathay last. Let's get through the boring shit
we'll go.
out of Adepticon. So the first one I'm going to say is Space Wolves.
Oh yeah.
I mean, okay, I think this is the problem where with reveals where it's more Space Marines right now is they're very good miniatures. Don't get me wrong. Like we are seeing like the best iteration of these Space Marine factions than we've ever seen before. And of course, we're now into the point where even in the roleplay game, we barely talk about Firstborn anymore. Like, pre-Primaris. Space Marines are now Space Marines, as in pretty much across the board. Because we're now effectively just, nod and a wink. They're upscaled. That's what this was always intended to happen, is that upscaled Space Marines. That's their true scale. So what we've got are a new box, new iteration of, Blood Claws and Grey Hunters and so forth for Space Wolves. They're very pretty. They're very well done. But I'm kind of left, I don't know about you, but I'm left thinking like, that's great, but that's what I would have expected anyway. Like, it's not a surprise. Like,
it's been like, what, 5 years long process now. When they first released the Primaris Marines, they were very Ultramarines painted in the colours of Blood Angels and Space Wolves. We all called it like, well, this feels very bland. Where's the flavour? Where's the touches that would actually make them feel like distinct factions? And instantly people started converting them, which is fine. It's nice having that hobby inspiration. It's very easy for you to buy a box of Primaris, and if you were in a Space Wolves play going, well, these are like crap, I'm going to cover them in wolf bits, which is natural and beautiful and what the hobby's all about. But it is almost, I'm not going to say frustrating, but because Games Workshop sellers release enough Space Marines and they sell us enough Space Marines as it is. But it is fascinating. It's taken them 5 years to re-release the Space Wolves as Primaris in any meaningful way like this. And like, I
Yeah.
think because we all knew what we could all imagine what that would look like 5 years ago. I think that's why it's not exciting because it's just that thing that. In fact, I think I saw someone post saying, "Oh, I thought we'd already had these." Like, no, we're not really had this level of wolfification of the Primaris.
Yeah, I think they had like a sprue of add-on parts.
Yeah,
But that was
that's
it.
what
And now we've got
actual
specific
Adepticons.
poses and stuff.
Which are
So
oh great! It's the
um,
same across the board. We've only just really got proper Blood Angels. We've only just like last year got proper Dark Angels, and it's fine. I'm glad they're here because if you're a fan of those factions, it is important to have your models to be able to walk into a shop and especially because as much as I enjoy converting, I know it's not for everyone.
yeah.
Not everyone's got access to 20 years worth of bits boxes. So being able to actually just go into a game shop and buy a decent looking Dark Angel or Space Wolf on the shelf is great. But I don't think Games Workshop could have won with this because if they just re-released every faction as a fantastic sculpted Primaris version or any quicker than they have, then we would have felt swamped with Space Marines even more than we already do.
Yeah.
But it just speaks to Games Workshop's fundamental issue with their business model, where they know that Space Marines are the main thing that sell, so that's all they put. It's always their primary thrust for investment and promotion, but then it's a
Yeah,
self-fulfilling
exactly.
wolf.
Overall, looking at the minis though for the Space Wolves, they are pretty cool. Like I've always,
Yeah,
it, I guess it's. I think they'd look again. Maybe I always feel like Space Wolves look better if you paint them as pre-heresy
I was just
grey,
thinking
which
that
is a bit darker.
because I've been so immersed in Heresy for the last few years, seeing them in that baby blue was kind of a shock.
Yeah, right.
Even though that's
Um,
obviously what they looked like when I first got into them back in the '90s, but it's still it's difficult. One of those things difficult to go back to.
yeah, but overall, I mean, yeah, it's good, but not a you know not shocking.
No.
Um,
But the order, because I caught up with the Adepticon reveals the day after, so the order I saw it was I saw the Grey Knights release box first,
oh
which
right,
is
yeah.
just the re-release of the old models with I think they got a single upgrade sprue,
Yes, yeah, right.
which is fascinating because like they were one of the poster boys at one point. Like they'd be an easy sell for Primarisification because they're not an easy one to do at home. You basically have to buy two kits. You can't just stick a
Yeah.
wolf pelt on it. You have to have all the Grey Knight parts and a Primaris mean to cannibalize. They would be a very easy one to sell to people, and it's kind of strange that they're not yet.
Um, for Chaos, again, we've got like what? We've got some new World Eaters champion, which is a lot of skulls and chains.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
much.
think
Uh,
I think the most interesting. I'm not a massive 40k Chaos player, but I think the most interesting shift in all the recent releases is they've been removing a lot of the demon units that again were more associated with fantasy. A lot of the chariots are going. A lot of the
yes.
kind of mid cavalry or demonic like wolfy style things are going. It's
Do you think? Do you think we're gonna get like the because also like even the Chaos Demon like foot troopers, the
yeah.
standard plague bearers and bloodletters and so forth. Do you think they're gonna go? They're gonna shift to old world, and we're gonna see eventually see demons that are specific to 40k and demons specific to Age of Sigmar.
I believe so. It's Demons have always been a strange one since the studios restructured because they were just a universal faction that back in the '90s, like and all of my
Yeah,
friends had Chaos Demons because you could use them for everything. And I think that at some point someone in a suit spotted that and went, "I can't be having that." Oh, it's probably just the way that the games have been separated as individual business units internally. It's
yeah.
kind of left Demons in a strange position where no one wants to invest in them because then that any cost that's recuperated not your game is not counted. I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
if a lot of the traditional units are going to get pulled away. Maybe for an old world because it was a natural fit. And then Age of Sigmar will get more Age of Sigmar big scary models. That seems to make
yeah,
more
I think
sense.
they'll get more dynamic poses. I think for Age of
Yeah,
Sigmar, and the same for 40k. I think the poses that we have for the Foot Trooper, you know,
I,
the
it'll probably just be that the idea of demons as a standalone faction is going to disappear from most games, and it's just going to be each of the mono god factions, human factions will have demonic elements that will be
yeah,
distinct for each game. Like You will. I think the Thousand Suns mecha that they announced
Yeah.
in the Thousand Sun box, which I quite like. I like the design cues to both some of the Horus Heresy Automata and the Leagues of Voltan on there are quite well done.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'll tell you what. Because I mean, obviously, so the other thing they've announced was the. I'm just looking through the post. There was some new Death Guard character model. Whoop de doo. Yeah. The what are they called? They're called Thousand Suns Sekitar robots, right?
Yeah,
Is they look like the they look like you say there's an Adeptus Mechanicus kind of edge to them. They also look very much like a evolution of the Man of Iron from Blackstone Fortress,
yeah,
and also I think they're a callback to the um what is it, the Chaos Androids from
yeah, yeah.
Space Crusade.
Yeah. There's a bunch of like the robots from Rogue Trade as well, of like very similar design cues and stuff. It's a nice homage. I quite like them. A lot of people have been very vocal and complaining about them online, but that's
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
people have said the designs look a bit kind of naff, maybe. I think the problem might be the paint scheme.
Yeah, it's an odd paint choice and doesn't really fit with the studio Thousand Suns arm either, which is always fascinating when they do that.
Yeah, but I do think it's a interesting it's an interesting bit of exploration for the 40k setting is looking at the Men of Iron, because that could then you could then go whole hog down that route and have, it wouldn't be crazy to have Men of Iron somehow being like a another, faction,
Yeah,
because it has overlaps into like the setting with Chaos Imperials, Sons of Otan, um, and I guess it would also give you potentially another robot army that isn't Adeptus Mechanicus, but has a
well,
little, has some vibe of that, but is also not Necrons.
there's been like a quiet, slow build on 40k Chaos Forces where these um, demonic automata been quietly
Yes,
popping up in various elements of the faction. They are on course like to have enough kits to be an all-Samuel faction to pull all of them together.
and that would
Which,
fit.
especially with
That would fit quite well with oh, what's his name?
it's
What's
maybe with
the
the guy
what's the
from
machine?
yeah, I
Yeah,
know exactly what you mean from the Dark Angels box set they released with the
shit.
yeah, gives with the V, I think. He's like he's a lovely model.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It would fit with that. That would be kind of cool. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's just again, I think they're the most interesting thing out of the whole release schedule, because obviously, again, it's just like they've brought out a new model, and therefore there's a new codex, and you're like,
Yeah,
what? It's a new model, and they brought out a new codex. It's I don't quite know how that's kind of
it's
taking the piss a bit.
well, it's Games Workshop a lot because Games Workshop locked themselves into this 3 year release cycle for refreshing the rules, and it means that they need to get these rulebooks out quickly because otherwise you're going to end up with a couple of factions that have their rulebook for 3 months before a new edition comes out, which means that they can't do good, decent range refreshes each time there's release because
Yeah,
we just keep getting these rulebooks with a new character every 2 months, and it's difficult to get even if you are excited by that faction, it's difficult to get excited by that prospect, particularly if it's not a faction
yeah.
you currently collect. And I don't know how they get. Well, we do. Is a really easy solution to this. They just drop out the 3 year release cycle. Even a 4 year release cycle would give them a bit more breathing room.
Yeah,
And they don't need.
exactly.
I know so many people that both across the board, like either from just play with friends casually or play professionally and play tournaments, and this pace doesn't help anyone. The
Yeah,
constantly shifting meta and lack of lack of soft balancing is really
yeah,
frustrating because it means that if you're playing with friends and one of you accidentally stumbles upon or finds online just a broken unit that you can just is undefeatable. Most DW releases will have something like that because whatever they do for playtesting doesn't seem to pick that up. Just
yeah.
strange
And
to
I
know
think
that because they do
I
do a
wonder
lot of
if
extensive playtesting within the community, and they have a lot of feedback from prominent people in the community running clubs playing with these playtest rules. They do get
yeah,
this feedback, and they do get like again because very deep in old world. I know that a lot of the broken combos were flagged, and people were saying, "Well, why infantry are terrible? I've got no incentive to run a big block of dudes, which is what Warhammer's all about." And yes, a dragon should be a big scary prospect, but there's never a reason to take. If I can take 2 dragons or 1 dragon in a block of 100 dudes, it's never in my interest to do that. It's always going to be better to take 2 dragons.
Yeah.
And if there's an army that lets you have 3 dragons, that is instantly the best army. And that is, as much as I love Old World and it's a fun game to play, and I love the models and the lore, but the problem is there are
That
a
is
couple of armies that
Warhammer.
squeeze
Yeah.
3 dragons. That is, there's no way around that.
Kill team. What do you think about the kill team stuff? So we've got new what are they called? New Raveners.
Is that the Tyrannid stuff?
Yeah, so we've got new
they're quite
new
nice.
Raveners. They're plastic Tyranids. So in game they've got some rules apparently that allows them to like pop up because they burrow underground. So in Kill Team, I'm sure that makes for some interesting like shenanigans. You only get 5 in the kit, but they can make 6 different models. So you've got like what's called a prime.
Okay, yeah.
You've got a Fell Talon, which has poisonous sacks, poisonous, claws. You've got a Tremor Scythe, which I think is basically the kind of their Auspex kind of sensory warrior. A Wrecker, which is, I think, just a really souped up combat one. And heavily armored. You've got a Venom Spitter, so it's a Ravener that's got a ranged attack, and then you've got basic the warrior build, which you'll mostly from the box be able to make 5 just straight warriors. Like they're nice models.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm gonna go after as a box. There's some specific Tyrannid terrain in in this new Kill Team box, which I think is actually is mostly the most interesting thing out of it is the Tyrannid terrain. And then the other faction in the box is Adeptus Mechanicus. So
Yep,
you
there'll
get
be
a
a whole bunch of stuff.
you get a techno archaeologist, which is the same model from Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah,
The Servitor Underseer, I don't know if that's a new model. I think
believe
it is.
so. Yeah.
Then we've got 2 gun servitors. Again, I think they come from the Inquisitional Agents box because they look very similar design.
They do look very similar. I can't tell if they are just remolds or they're just literally the same sprue.
Yeah, right. And then we've got these servitors, combat servitors. So they're a bit smaller than the gun servitors. So we've got a breach servitor, a techno med servitor, a auto proxy servitor. So again, one that's got sensors and stuff. And then we've got combat servitors that have like built-in guns. So we've never had models like this. And all I'll say about those is this is all brilliant for Necromunda. Right? Hands down, it's Necromunda.
Anything's a Necromunda kit if you try hard
enough. yeah, right. And these are definitely solidly fucking Necromunda. Like this is a Necromunda kit waiting to happen because you could have like again like some of the arms and some of the hands would make and even the legs, right? Would all make brilliant conversions for your gangers, especially if they've had like injuries and you want to have a new model to represent they've got like a bionic like leg or a bionic arm or something like that.
Well, even as a standalone gang, it would be very Dan Abnett to have like either a wealthy noble or a trader with his army of combat servitors. Because like again, how many of his Dan Abnett's books?
That reminds me. Hold on, I'm going to go to. Let me go to. Hold on, Nick. I wonder if there are. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking up like it within wikis. If I look for servitor, let's see. I think there isn't rules for like small for human-sized servitors because you can get servitor Ogren in Necromunda, but I don't know if you can get yeah, there isn't really technically rules for servitors in Necromunda, but I can see them doing off the back of this kit. Like, I could definitely see them doing some, uh, uh, like a Warhammer community article and go, "Here's rules for servitors in
Yeah,
Necromunda," because it's just it's such an easy secondary sale to do that. Um, so yeah, I think that's relatively interesting. It's Kill Team. I want to play more Kill Team because I've got like about a dozen different Kill Teams.
yeah. But
Um,
Kill Team and Warcry are both fantastic games and easily the best thing main studio put out for a while.
yeah, I need to like get some of the tokens on eBay for the ones that I don't have tokens for, which is most of them for the new edition. Okay, so we're almost there up to Old World. So Warhammer Age of Sigmar didn't do much.
I
It
was
really
gonna
didn't
say,
do fucking much.
did he do anything? Because like I still like
Right.
Sigmar's models, and I do a lot of like I buy a lot of their kit still, and I don't think I've seen anything.
Right. So what they brought out was the following. They brought out Spearhead Sand and Bone Gaming Pack, which is basically a new gaming board for Spearhead. So it's another 22 by 33 inch fold out board. So the same size you use for Warcry.
Yeah,
And of course, it's double sided because it has those markers for where objectives are, which I get that's the point of Spearhead, but it looks fucking ugly.
and
And
it's
then,
one of the it's so shallow, but one of the reasons I don't enjoy playing Age of Sigmar is because it looks really bad on the table. It's just like scattered models, and even if you got nice, because everyone uses the radius markers for objectives now, because
yeah,
it's a game of millimeters at this point. And even if you've got quite nice ones, like I've seen some like quite nice brass ones, it still makes it look. It always looks like a shot of League of Legends.
right.
It's just scattered models and standing in green circles, and it's fine if that. If you're here for the game, that's fine. But like the aesthetic of Warhammer is what drew me in. Like
Yeah,
seeing squads of dudes, like being able to instantly comprehend what's going on just from looking at a table. Like if even in
it's
40k,
going
like
to board gamey. It's
yeah,
going
yeah,
to
it
board
is.
gamey, and as you say, it's a massively it's a tower defense game or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, so the terrain you get though with it is
that's
the
quite
terrain
nice
that
actually.
came in the Warcry starter. So they
Yeah,
did the starter with the Stormcast
yeah,
and
it's like an updated version of the.
vampires.
Yeah, it's like an updated version of the old Garden of Moor from Fantasy.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
really nice.
I've got this terrain separately. I got it on eBay to add to my Garden of More stuff because I was like, oh wow, more Warcry terrain. Um, so that's what this is. And then I think there's a booklet in there for 24-page booklet for Sand and Bone, Spearhead battles, blah blah blah. And it's just like I've not played Spearhead, so I can't really comment on
I've heard good
what
things.
it's
I've
like.
heard good things. Like
Yeah,
just
I
from
can't. I don't know how it compares to regular Age of Sigmar. I don't, but then I don't play Age of Sigmar right now. So
I, I I'm quite close to having a bunch of finished spearheads with it because I did pick up the spearhead book for fourth edition and it looks quite nice and streamlined. It looks fun. I've got basically ready painted about 4 or 5 of them, so I
yeah,
will have to play a game. It's just because all of this feels like an escalation to play air quotes Age of Sigmar proper, which I've not really got a massive push to do at the moment. So it's just I've not got that incentive. Like it's not it's probably a fantastic stepping stone, but it's a stepping stone on a path I'm not really interested in taking right now.
yeah.
I think that's fundamentally the issue.
So obviously they're releasing a few other boxes as spearheads. There's a Cities of Sigmar one, which is Cities of Sigmar, which I think are some of the most interesting miniatures they've released recently.
They are, and they're
Um,
making a fantastic Empire army for the old world at the moment for me on my hobby table. It's my current
yeah,
project.
right. A Seraphon one, a Otter Bone Reapers one, a Ogre More Tribes, which again feels like I feel at this point it won't be long until the ogres will get a full redesign for Age of
Yeah,
Sigmar, and ogres will go back to being old world. Because come
that's
on,
it's been heavily
ogres would fit
rebuilt.
so nicely with as a mercenary units with Grand Cathay.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
the release
yeah.
does have a couple of ogre models in it, like on their crew, their cannon crew. One of them is an ogre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then there's some new General's Handbook that comes with some again objective circles. Ooh, um, and then they're previewing the fact that this coming up here is the Scourge of Gyron. So I
Okay.
don't know what that means for what they're going to preview. Um,
I do quite.
so that's Age of
It's
Sigmar.
just, yeah, I like the lore shifting in Sigmar. It generally keeps having it as a shifting setting is quite interesting. The fact they start that early on, it does keep things. It means they can keep raising the stakes for the narrative, which is what they're doing, and it does keep things interesting and can keep because it always opens up new scope for new armies and new
Yeah.
interpretations of existing armies, which I do enjoy. Especially as it's not
Let's,
as a setting in itself, it's not really had a chance to settle into stagnation, so it's nice to keep
yeah.
freshening up. But other than that, I'm not.
Right, so Old World. Let's go with the
Woo!
two simple things. Woohoo! Even though I'm never going to play Old World anytime soon, I just don't have the time to paint an army. I'll play it, but I don't have time to play an art to paint. Sorry. So we've got it's the Beastmen are back.
Remember
Fucking
those
hell!
that we quietly
Remember that?
delisted about 8 months ago? Bring them
So
back.
obviously they're all back. All the character models. I guess there's some other models they've brought back that have been out of circulation for a while. There are boxes upon boxes of Beastmen. There's a Beastman army. I think you can basically just buy straight up. And
Yeah, they've been doing these battalion boxes for all the forces.
yeah,
Again, because of
you
the
get
issues.
30 Ungors, 30 Gors, a Cygor or Gorgon, and some transfers. That's a pretty good box, actually. That's
They are
60 odd models.
all right. It speaks more to the current issues with the current rule set, which they could change this in a second with the right mission pack. But all of these regiment boxes give you tons and tons of infantry, which is fantastic. It makes the boxes look fantastic value for money. It makes it look on the table
But
looks like a great impressive army. But none of this is what you want. Not like if you are starting army, you will use like half of the infantry in this just to keep your bare minimum troops, and then you'll just be able to buy a lot of toys for most of the armies. And it's
fuck.
quite frustrating to see that writ large on this. And I can't speak to Beastmen massively because they're not my army, but I'm willing to bet this is not what you're going to want for a Beastmen army. You're going to want your big monsters, your
Yeah.
shiny wizards, and anything excuse for cavalry. In fact, I do know because I play Chaos Warriors. You're going to want your dragon ogres. You're going to want your It's you don't want Chaos Hounds or any equivalent of that. It's not what's in there. It's
Yeah.
and it is frustrating. Now there is scope for this not to be a forever problem. They don't even have to redo the rules. If they just released a mission pack where you need infantry to score, and that's your scoring units, that changes that. Then you've got incentive to bring duplicates. So if like someone launches a dragon at your big block of men, that's fine. You've got another one. It would change the scope of the game, and that is probably what they need to do, and they should have done a year ago.
Yeah.
But as it stands,
They're
it's
also
not
bringing
great.
back a whole load of resin stuff, or
Yeah,
new in resin. So they've got the cockatrice, a Jabberslythe, which is a pretty mental model.
I quite
I think
like
they've
all
got
because this is all the Forge World Monstrous
yeah,
Arcana models, which felt dizzyingly expensive and beyond my reach back when they were all out, and now because they're bringing back in line with GW, very back in line where the prices were, but now GW stuff has risen up in line. It feels a lot more reasonable.
yeah, and a Praeton, which is like a winged
Ricted Stag
monstrous
is beautiful.
stag. Which
Yes,
just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, okay? For when we talk about a different game. So then they're also bringing back in metal. Oh God, I remember when these all first came out. Like
yeah. These are all the
all the
90s models.
Centaurs and you know all the Centaurs and chieftains and shamans. Like I remember when these were all new, and I painted some. It's like
I like the one piece 2-dimensional shamans. They were
oh
made for the
yeah,
clamshell packaging. One solid lump.
yeah.
See right there what you got.
So that's all cool. I think they've announced they're bringing back the metal Centaur unit as well. So yeah, I mean it's Beastman. Like if you're as old as us playing it, then like none of this is new. It's just back. But I will say like the Beastman range is at least out of all of the old world stuff one of the more modern ranges. As in, you look at
Yeah.
the Ungors and Gors, they're pretty good. It's a pretty good miniatures range.
Yeah, and I think that speaks
Then
to
we've got,
the because the way that they scooped up a lot of the more recent factions and more recent plastic releases into Age of Sigmar, where they've stayed. So that's why Old World looks especially hot.
yeah.
Just we're- and
Then we
then
got Wood Elves,
wait,
which is just Wood Elves. You know, it's what you would expect. So
and
what
again,
have we
this
got?
battalion box is fantastic. Like on paper, it looks beautiful, but it's a ton of infantry you're never going to use. You're going to use the Glade Guard and the Glade Riders because they are useful if you have many small units of them. But those big chunky blocks of is it Eternal Guard?
Yeah,
The two squads with big halberds. They're not. You're not going to do anything with us. You're going to spend 200 or 300 points in each squad of them, and they're going to look really pretty on the table. And they're either going to get tar pitted by a unit that costs nothing, or they're going to get melted by a unit that can do something, and that's it.
yeah,
Or
and
even worse, you're gonna have a wizard cast one really awesome pillar of fire, and then you're gonna have a smoking crater where your beautifully painted unit of elves was.
yeah,
And
and then we've got
that's
returning in metal. We've got Orion, King of the Woods,
way
which is really showing its age.
it is a bit,
Like,
but
it's a good model, but it's showing its age. And then we've got some nobles or heroes, which they're all right. They
there's some
one or
like
two look good.
yeah they're because they're like late sixth edition I think, and they're some of the prettier models. But I mean, Wood Elves are one of my faction. I've got a painted army. It's one I took to Warhammer World and did terribly gaming wise, but did quite well on the painted side. And
Yeah. Oh
these
God.
this is the re-release I am most excited about because of the Arcane Journals, which are do each of these Arcane Journals have re-released have had two sub factions of the pre-existing factions with completely rebalanced some new units. It mixes up the game in interesting ways, and because of the issues with Old World as it's been presented at release, these Arcane Journals are kind of given a way to do something with these armies, like with the Empire one. Again, Empire suffers the worst out of the mainline factions for the issues where they are a unit of infantry and weak things, but it's not cheap
Hmm.
enough to be chaff. So you've got big blocks that can't really do much, and you don't want to be throwing to spend at stuff. So you're very limited on what's actually usable on the table. And the Arcane Journals helped with Empire a bit because it gave a buff to the troops, so it gives you a chance to do something interesting with the knights. And I'm hoping that the Arcane Journal for Wood Elves do something for that because Wood Elves up until well, I'll have a very brief rant about this, but we've only had one genuine rules update to Old World since release. And it was a
Yeah.
very quick FAQ and a couple of like rules amendments, very minor generally. But prior to that, Wood Elves they were basically a mono build army where you could take a dragon, that'd be great. You do great stuff with your dragon. You've got a couple of treeman units which can do some stuff. But it was the Sisters of the Thorn were the all star, and every army you saw would have basically they are because they're not been available for a while. They go for about 60 quid for five on eBay, and that price has been drifting up slowly and slowly. And they are beautiful models. They're very thematic, and they had a bound spell where you could pick your spell from a couple of groups. The problem is, and this I'll go into this a bit further, but everyone picked Column of Fire because it was a
Hmm.
fantastic utility spell which rendered any kind of heavy cavalry or any kind of solo hero as a non-entity in the game because it was high strength, multi wound, high armor piercing, and it's very easy to get that. This is a very magic heavy game anyway at the moment. So like if you want to be taking a couple of level 4 sorcerers if you can, and then you'll control the magic phase and you can just throw fire around. And this column of fire it's a problem as a spell. And now the problem isn't the problem with the spell, it's a problem with heavy cavalry and non-dragon hero units are really squishy. And rather than looking at the root, and the process has been everyone takes this Wood Elf unit because it can take Column of Fire, and everyone takes Column of Fire because it's an instant answer to these units. And rather than thinking, well, why is that an instant answer to these units? Well, it's because heavy cavalry is either overcosted or under strength. Probably could do with being multi-wound generally, but that's a separate conversation. And rather than looking at the underlying causes of why everyone's picking Column of Fire for this one unit, or why everyone's picking Column of Fire in general, they didn't go to the root of it. They just said, well, you can't pick that spell anymore. It has to be randomly chosen from this book, which instantly makes that unit completely useless because you've got, I think there's two spells on that which don't do anything for the unit. So you've got like a 1 in 3 chance of just having a crappy cavalry unit. And
Brilliant.
it's from that FAQ, which also goes against everything else. Every other bound unit with a bound magic spell gets to choose their spell, but because everyone was choosing that one spell for this one unit, and it wasn't even overpowered. Like Wood Elves weren't winning tournaments. It's not as good as a 3 Dragon army and a Chaos army. It's not as good as a Moltric army that with flying caskets of scorpions or whatever. It was an auto pick for a Wood Elf army, and I hate that kind of balancing. It's so that kind of knee jerk. Everyone's picking this unit. I had a bad time with it one game. I'm going to nerf this one unit rather than looking at underlying issues and trying to solve that. It's such lazy game design, and I hate it. What's a pet peeve of mine?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Rant over. I do, but yeah.
They're also bringing back a Tree Man miniature.
Again, that's just so they can avoid using the really beautiful tree king.
Yeah, exactly.
And the tree man, but everyone uses the beautiful what are now Age of Sigmar. But these Age of Sigmar tree men were originally one fancy ones. So, and the base sizes in the rulebooks because a lot of the units that have both Age of Sigmar models and classic models, they have multi base size options to allow you to have either one. So they know what they're doing, and they are at least accommodating that a bit, which I'll give the designers more credit.
At least they know people are going to buy the nicer miniatures at some point.
Yes, they don't have to worry about squeezing to a tiny base or anything.
So to cap it all off, let's talk about Cathay, because fucking hell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, Cathay we knew were coming for years, because obviously they are a faction essentially developed for the Total War games. Developed initially essentially as a Warhammer army for the computer games, which I guess I basically for GW achieved the goal of, well, someone else does the design for us while we oversee it, do the hard work, and we get to reap the benefits at some point if we ever make miniatures for them, which they have done.
Well, there was a lot of back and forth on those, because as far I remember, I don't know how much truth there is to this, but back when they were first developing the faction for Total War, Games Workshop Studio basically made and presented them a 8th edition Cathay rulebook for Warhammer Fantasy to allow them to kind of balance it with the fact, because the Total War devs were massive Warhammer fans, and they came up with a bunch of formulas to like port over 8th ed rules to Total War, and
that makes sense.
They wanted it to feel the same. So there was that. It's been an ongoing collaboration. Then
yeah,
and I'm very glad they've done it, because we knew what was coming, and we knew the units. How we had an idea what the units would look like, and they have just knocked it out of the park. They are beautiful models.
Yeah, so Cathay is essentially our Warhammer World, East Asia, China.
China.
Faction.
It's just China. It's just fancy China, which is fine.
And I think obviously why it's taking so long for something like this, and I'm glad it's the reason why these take so long is, I think, because we're now into the day and age where some of the things that you used to be able to get away with Warhammer would be considered insensitive and just hands down racist. So this looks like it's been really designed with a lot of thought of how to present a fantasy equivalent of Chinese history and mythology into Warhammer.
I think the way they've done it is in the same way that Warhammer Fantasy is a mishmash of several different eras of European fantasy and historical stuff. They've done a very good job of kind of capturing that for about 3 different eras of Chinese history.
Yeah,
which covers about 700 years of. I mean, I'm not a massive. I'm not a historian specializing in Chinese culture, but it's been a occasional special interest of mine. So, but it's cohesive and looks nice in a way, and like a lot of Chinese, modern Chinese fantasy, plays with the eras together in a similar way. So it's if anyone gets offended by this and mad about this, which people will, because they always do, they're going to have a long look at both the way that Chinese fantasy plays with its own history and the way that Warhammer's played with historical and fantasy stuff in a melting pot in general. And they've done a fantastic job.
I definitely get a feel from this. It does fit with, if you ever have seen, any Chinese cinema that deals with their mythology of their, Chinese mythology and mytholization of their history of the warring kingdoms and so forth. it feels. I know. You know what this is? This is Dynasty Warriors
I
for
was just
fucking
about to
Warhammer,
say.
right?
I was just about to say.
And I think that's the right. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing to go for. So we've got Jade Warriors as your basic troops. They've got swords and shield, or they're going to have these crescent blade halberds. That's like pretty kick ass. Helmets have got nice plumes on them. You've got essentially lamellar armor, I think, kind of, or a form of plate mail. Not plate mail. It's scale mail. That's what we've
yeah.
got. And a lot of this kind of like very geometric patterning designs on shields and on banners, as well as dragon motifs. Then we've got Jade Lancers, which is, they've got spears on horseback.
Nice
They are
Empire.
some of the nicest cav I think we've seen in um, anything in Warhammer for a while. Even Age of Sigmar, I think these are
Yeah.
kick-ass cavalry.
Well, I'll
Um,
get into this further, but these
yes, they can
models,
have lances.
these
Exactly
models
fun.
don't really mesh very well with the current fantasy line, but they will look fantastic set across from any Age of Sigmar models that are based on square bases.
Oh yeah, let's just say that's a good point. Like these models are clearly, um, yeah, they're modern. I think they're not quite true scale in the same sense that Age of Sigmar is. I think they look like they're going to be more to the same scale as classic Warhammer,
I'll
but
be interested to see
the
because I've been
designs
stick.
are better.
Yeah, yeah. They are the way that these models fill out the 25 and 30 mil bases. They
Yeah.
look very similar to the Age of Sigmar models, the cities, because I've been putting cities of Sigmar models on square bases for my Empire army because those models
Mm.
are beautiful and they're readily available. Were readily available before the relaunch of Empire, and these are filling these bases out as much, or if not better, than they are. So it's going to be,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just so nice. But anyway, carry on.
Then we got Grand Cathay Cannon, which is a massive cannon that's obviously like got a dragon kind of design to it, so it looks like a cannon coming out of a dragon's mouth. That's got it's got like the crew for it, and it's got an ogre who helps load this cannon, so it shoots out a massive cannonball. So that's absolutely fantastic model.
Yep.
It's just a lot of character in that.
I'm hoping that that unit is as easily magnetizable as it appears as well, because it looks like because it's dual kit for rocket
Yeah,
launcher battery as well. But it looks like the rocket launcher is just an extra bit on the end, so I'm really hoping I could just slap a little magnet on there and have two units for one.
yeah, exactly. Because then the other thing you can do is you can build the crew and you can build the cannon itself instead, so that it is a rocket battery, which is again looks bloody awesome. Um, so yeah, that's all very cool. Then we get onto the characters that don't come in the box in the starting battalion. So we've got Shugengun Lord on Great Spirit Longmire. So the only way to describe this is it's basically a dude with a halberd on a how do we describe it?
It's a
It's
Dragony
horse
Pegasus.
sized. It's kind of, yeah, it's a Pegasus, but it's more like it's got dragon wings and it's got stag horns rather than a single unicorn. So it's cool. That's all I can say about it. It's like it's really wicked.
Yeah,
It fits with designs and mythology perfectly.
it's beautiful, and in game, any kind of Pegasus style mount has always been fantastic in this current edition. Bretonians are kind of ruling the waves more than they should, considering they lack any large monsters, just because they can take Pegasus Cav, and it's multi
Yeah.
wound, fast, quick, really flexible. And if that unit is because obviously we're not seeing any stats for in game for this, but it's instantly exciting, instantly
Yeah.
exciting.
I think we're going to see so many of these armies at events, right? Because come on. Then we got some character models and banner bearers. So army standard bearer, army standard warriors and so forth. So that's cool. Also, good thing to point out if you go online and look at this, there are clearly some really fucking amazing transfer sheets for this army.
Yes, Yeah.
which I've already said those are transfer sheets because they've got really nice geometric patterns. Are great for Necromunda. And then we get to the Sky Lantern. Oh, fucking hell, the Sky Lantern.
This model is. I was trying to work out how big this thing is based on like the base size. You can see on one of the army shots, and I think it's going to be about 15 inches tall from base to tip.
Yeah,
which is
it's massive. So essentially, it's a gondola that carries about 3 or 4 models who have, who are carrying grenades and got like rifles. So got firearms of some form. And some, you can also have a magistrate to ride it, so he's able to command the armies from up high. And they can provide apparently line of sight for your artillery.
Well,
and then you've got essentially this giant lantern, as in like, when you launch off flying lanterns, you light them in ceremonies. It's one of those, and it's enormous. And embellished with, again, massive, transfer designs of a dragon's head.
I'm going to say it now, and we'll never know this because Games Workshop releases, but I'm going to say this Cathayan transfer sheet is going to be their biggest selling transfer sheet they've ever sold. Because Specialist Design Studio do some fantastic transfer sheets for most of their games. The Heresy ones have been beautiful. The banners on those are all for every faction they've done them for. But this one is, everyone's going to buy this. They keep releasing for the re-released fantasy factions, even though most of those factions don't really have much space to put them on. There's one coming for the Beastmen. And the Beastmen, all their shields have garbage all over them. You got no place to put any of those transfers. But still, this one, 10 out of 10.
The thing I was going to say with this, that I said about the lantern is, is you take it, you don't put any people in it, and you add some Adeptus Mechanicus stuff to it, and I would just have it as... I would literally just buy 2 of these to have as cool terrain for Necromunda, to have that kind of Blade Runner-esque feel.
I literally saw the second thing I saw about this was someone did a Photoshop mashup with one of the terrain kits that made like a little cafe. And so I'm making a Blade Runner noodle bar. And that's going to be my objective for my Necromunda game. It's absolutely fantastic.
Next, Cathayan Sentinel. So, did you want giants for Cathay? Yes. It's basically a giant. What's the word I'm looking for? Terracotta Army, Terracotta Warriors. Yeah. It's a giant one of those. Apparently, it'll have different rules if you paint it up to be made of jade, or made of warp stone, or made of terracotta.
It's quite interesting because I'm hoping that's like rules and basically a point scale, so you can have a cheap one or an expensive one, and like some of the dragons, which one of the problems with giants is they're a bit one flavor, and one you can't do much with them. So having that kind of flexibility on a big model like this is interesting. And I'm guessing Games Workshop are hoping you buy 3 of them.
So it looks like you've got a few head options and a few pose options with the arms. So that's kind of kick-ass.
Lovely model, and they're going to be so easy to paint. I can't wait. I've got my nice dry brushes. I've got my nice makeup brushes. These bit of dust, a bit of oil wash, a bit of dry brushing. These are going to look fantastic. I'm so excited.
And then finally, we've got the character, the like main kind of named character leader of the entire faction, which is Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon. So she's this human. I say human. That's how she regularly appears, is a human like wizard floating about doing stuff, and then she can transform into a Chinese dragon. So it doesn't have wings, and it's got armor and
it's beautiful.
It's just great.
Again, it'll be interesting to see how they do this rules wise, because in Total War, this character is in Total War. She's basically the de facto leader of the entire country, because her parents, the Grand Dragon Emperor and Empress, are missing at this point in the timeline.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they've gone straight in with her, to be honest. I thought they might build up to her later in the in an edition or 2. But in Total War, you just wanted to be the dragon all the time because she's a dragon. And I can only hope they do something with the rules on this where she's a better caster when she's human. Like I think there's something similar with Marathi in Age of Sigmar, where she's a better caster when she's human, but a beat stick when she's in monster form. Having that kind of tactical flexibility, especially if it's an option, would be really good and really interesting.
Right. Now, we're going to move over to... So that's basically all of Warhammer. As
Yeah.
we know, like Cathay is like the main. Like those Cathay models will get used for Age of Sigmar easily. They get obviously for Old World. You're definitely going to see conversions to do stuff for Imperial Guard
Yeah.
for 40k. Like those guys with las guns, fuck yes.
Yeah. Especially
Um,
like put like a big, I forgot what it's called now, the big tower hats that that John Blanchard's drawing on all of his human troops. Just
yeah,
that instant going to look kind of, yeah, grim, dark, and perfect.
I think that'll be. I think going for your kind of like again Blade Runner kind of cyber, noodle cyberpunk Imperial Guard will be cool. Um, and obviously a Necromunda. Like again, I think you could possibly come up with ideas on how to use some of the models and designs for that. Because I've got the resins, I've got them up there. The two character models they brought out for Necromunda that are very East Asian themed,
Yeah.
and they're great. I still need to paint them. But now we're going to talk about Warmachine because oh my god, right? Okay. So Mark, did you watch the reveals or have you looked at all the pictures I put up on?
I've seen some pictures, but that's about it.
Okay, I'm gonna link to. I'm gonna no. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna. Where the fuck is screen share on here? Will it let me screen share? No, I can't screen share my screen.
It's okay.
Thingy.
I've got the Steamforged website for the Adepticon
Okay.
reveals loaded up on my second
Well,
screen.
I'll link you the on the Dark Days Radio Discord the message link, and it'll make it easier to go from there.
Cool.
So, the first thing I'm looking at is the Trichimerex, which is the colossal for the Chimera faction. So this is a massive 3-headed chimera. Each head has 2 weapon options, I believe, and each tail has 2 weapon options. So that means you've got so many different combinations on this fucking model. Like you magnetize it, and so there's a combat head, there's a ranged head, there's a melee head, and the same with the tails. There's a combat tail, a melee tail, and I think more of a magic aura tail, like a arcane tail is the best way to describe it. So that's going to let me just see if if they put the rules in the app already. Because guess what, Steamforge Games likes putting rule. Yeah, it is in the rules already. Yeah, so this thing has got 50 hitboxes. Is armor 19. It has bulldoze. It's got rapid healing, which is insane. So when it's damaged after an attack, you remove D3 damage points after that attack has been resolved. So long as it doesn't die, it heals. And then it's got various heads that do like eyeless sight, and it also has like telekinetic burst on it. A different arcane head has arcane dampening, so it makes spells near it harder to cast. It's got a flamethrower head option. It's got a frost ice thrower head option, and then its melee options have got like piercing horns, so it does critical armor piercing, or it's got a melee head which is a gulper, which does consume, which means if it kills something, if it damages, if it hits a small base non-leader model, that model is removed from play, no matter how many hitboxes it's got. And then it's got a bunch of tails that do various. So you've got, like as I said, there's 2 options for each of the 3 heads and 3 tails. So you can build this in God knows how many different combinations, and if you magnetize it, you can use any combination you like in any game, and of course the model is magnet friendly. So
I have to say that is such a shift, and I love it so much because I mean, this might speak to my own ADHD, little goblin brain, but like having to choose, I love having options on kits. I love having all spare bits, but having to choose and stick to one and like have that go, okay, well, how is this going to work in my army? How is this going to work in game? How is good is this going to be this edition, next edition, whatever? Having that stress just removed for the small price of a couple of magnets is so nice. And
yeah,
it's really fun and
I don't know
like,
Chimera very well yet as a faction because I've only got the Shadows and Scum starter, so I don't really know the synergies with this thing, but there's a lot of fun in there. That's
Yeah.
certain. The next thing is we'll look at before we get into the real interesting thing. We've got a new warcaster for Crix, which is more Tenebra, the Perfected. So she is one of the Lich Lords, I believe. So she's this kind of she's this necromechanical flying warcaster. So she's got wings of blades, and it looks like she's got multiple legs and a tail. She looks amazing. I don't think they've released rules for her unless, hold on, let me look for Necrofactorium. Because the great thing is all these casters get added to all these models. A lot of them have been added to the app already. No, she's not had a release yet on rules, so we can't say what she's going to be like, but the design looks pretty kick-ass. And then we've got for Dusk, and I don't think this has had a rules released yet.
No,
So for the undead elf faction, essentially they've got a new colossal.
It's made of swords.
It's made of swords. So again, keeping with the wings made of swords themes going on, this is basically, when I saw it, I was like, so you wanted a Gundam in Warmachine, right? Think along that level of things. This looks like if the elves did what would Freedom, Gundam Freedom from Gundam Seed.
I mean, it's a more organic version of something like Zone of Enders or
yeah, totally.
Those kind of organic mecha with, again, covered in knives, covered in swords. That's fine.
It looks badass. So that's fun. And then we'll go on to the big kind of new stuff. So we are getting where's that image? Hold on. Did I forget an image somewhere? Okay. So we are getting
a couple of mercenaries, but
oh, there we go. Right, the command starter. So we're getting the new sub-faction for Kador, which is called Old Umbre. So what the base of the plotline is, the Old Witch, who is this essentially a god in the Warmachine setting, and is trying to protect the world from the Infernals and the Orgoth and so forth. She has organized, the old the people that followed the old religion, the old faith in Umbre. And so essentially what we've got here is kind of Kador meets Circle Orboros. And so they're venerating the Devourer worm, and they are bringing with them war beasts. So this is Kador with war beasts. So we've got Boden Lesnoy, who is this kind of like druidic character with crows around him. People are already calling him Bad Santa version 2 because there was a Bad Santa model in previous edition. We've got this. He's got a character war beast called a Strix, which is why I was saying about that Warhammer model, which is again bird-like, bat wings, antler horns. It looks fantastic. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to paint. Image has got bigger on me. And then we're getting some other war beasts that will come in the battle box. So we're getting a primeval, which is kind of like your kind of like I want to say, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's kind of like a werewolfy type. I guess it's a take on the old warp wolves. So you're going to have weapon options and head options on that. So the concept art has got like a big skull head with ram horns, but you can have other, it's got spear and shield, but you might have just big claws on it and a antler horns, or it might be a wolf head. You've got a feral, which is more like a wolf, but it's going to have head, tail, and spine options on the back. I believe one of the options they said is it can have a pig's head with wings, which is crazy.
So if anyone did say they'll play Warmachine when pigs fly, this is their into it then.
Yeah. Again, we've not got any rules for this faction yet. Let's see. So then we've got a character unit that will be in the command starter called the Chosen of the Witch Hunt. So we've got these 3 magic users, one which is called Dawn, one called Nightfall, one called Day. So they're representing different aspects of the day. And one is fiery, one is looks to do with light, and one is looking to do with shadows. One is like got a big axe and a ram's head and heavy armor. One is wreathed in fire and has very kind of like a fiery sword. The other one has got like is mostly the proper magic user out of the group. Those are cool character art. Again, we can't say much more because it'd be interesting to see how they translate into miniature form. And then so that's what we've seen for. So that's basically it for Old Umbre. I'm quite excited because Kador with War Beasts is a cool idea.
Yeah, like pagan Kano.
Pagan
Like,
Kador, yeah,
yeah,
that's
with a
like
bit of yeah.
cool. Then they've because the Gravediggers command cadre and battle box was on pre-order, is now out for general sale. My copy is in the post coming. So what they've revealed is the core expansion. So that gives you, I believe, looking at the picture, you get 2 more warjacks, a group of rangers who are trenchers essentially. So they're not Kador, Signar trenchers. So this is for Signar, sorry. A machine gunner unit, a 2-man, 2 models on a base with a machine gun. A sniper who is a trollkin. So that's fun. Some new warcaster. And then also we get a 3-man unit of gun mages. And the fun thing I've read about these guys is, again, the gun mages, because all the rules for these models are already in the app. So the gun mages, I can tell you now, are let's see, force allocation 3. So you can take 3 units of these 3-man gun mages in your army. They've got a magic ability, which means they can empower your warjacks. So if you're using, say, Kane is not going to put all his focus on all his warjacks, right? So
Yeah.
instead, your warjacks are going to be pairing up with your gun mages, and your gun mages are going to give them that extra focus that Kane isn't dishing out to them. And then they've got mage lock pistols, which of course are going to have weapon, shot types, which include things like snipe, which increases their range, or electro leap, which is going to deal damage to models nearby the initial target. So you can take 3 units of those, then also have the Black 13th with Kane, with very shooty warjacks, and on Kane's feet, all of their guns are going to be powered up, and they get to choose not just 1 shot type, but 2 shot types from their options. So your gun mage units can increase their range and do electro leap in one turn. So yeah, I'm solidly excited about Gun Mage Army. I've been waiting for this for the new edition.
Shooting from the feet.
Yeah. So that's really cool. The solo unit. Let's see, the solo unit for the is that the sniper? Is that Ramjaw? Yeah. I know that's his machine gun. Sorry. The machine gun crew is it's only power 12. Its range is only 12. It's got though tracer rounds, which is it ignores stealth, and a model hit by this weapon loses stealth and suffers -2 defense for a turn. So essentially, you're going to use this thing to shoot at the enemy to make them easier to hit for your warjacks and your gun mages.
Yeah.
So that's wicked. So that's a cool thing. Then we've got some other expansions coming out with what looks like a Ogrun with a chain gun, and a big shield, and some other trenchers and another warjack. And then we've got the auxiliary expansion, which will have another command warjack with the return of the character Alison Jakes. So she was the Signar character they introduced in the computer game. So she's coming back in her 2nd or 3rd incarnation. So she survived the apocalypse. So that's good. So that's fun. And then
I do like the warjack as well, with the pouches on it and the kind of baggage type. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then they're also bringing out some very what would you call this? I'm trying to think of the description.
It's the walkers.
They're walkers, but they remind they're
They are
reminiscent
very Metal
of,
Slug.
yeah, they're very anime. Um,
They are adorable. They are Metal Slug Tachikomas.
yeah, they're Tachikomas, or I'm trying to think of the other one. I can't think of it. Not Patlabor. There's another one. Dominion Tank Police.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah. They
basically
are.
got these four-legged walkers that have guns and a turret, and they're pretty cool.
They're adorable. I can't. Just the villain assault one as well. It's painted in a very non-War Machine way on this. It's very like muted tones, very almost
Yeah.
like historical war game style weathering. It's
So
beautiful
so
and it's
the
a very different look.
so the point is that the Gravediggers are basically very diesel punk, whereas
Yeah,
like and grim and grimy, whereas the Storm Legion of Signar that have been the first stuff out is very Tesla punk, um, you know, cutting edge technology in a this fantasy steampunky setting. So that's all cool. That's all good stuff. Other things coming out. So they're doing this as a. I think you'll be able to buy the STLs, but also buy
okay.
it directly from Steamforge. Is the Crix Hivemind Cadre? So this is another
These are
command
beautiful.
cadre. This is the return of the Cephalax. And I'm so fucking excited. So you get a Warcaster, two solos. You get a unit of these. They're basically drudges, a character unit of drudges. So they're humanoids that have been got prosthetic weapons on them, and obviously they're Warcaster, and they're the main Cephalax and the solos. They float about because they use psionics. And they've got like very Doc Ock style limbs
They're,
added to them,
they're too
and then
fancy
we've
to use their feet. They're too.
yeah,
They're above all that
and
now.
then we've got the monstrosities. So monstrosities in Warmachine they follow the same rules as Warjacks, but they're alive, and they've got some extra rules that they gain focus when they're damaged, when they take a hit. So we've got one monstrosity there,
Like
and
my picture's quite low res. I'm looking at. Is that like? Would you have a Master Blaster scenario on it? Is there like a
yes, we
little
do.
guy on his shoulder? Oh, great. That's oh.
And then, so that's coming out. So you'll be able to buy that from Steamforge. And then they're also doing, and this is where we get into some of the other bits that are coming out. I know we'll talk about that later. There's some other bits they revealed. There's another auxiliary expansion for Old Umbre that we missed, which has got another warcast called Jeshana Agha. Now, people think she might be a descendant of the old witch. I think that was the thing that was going about. I'm not too certain. Don't quote me on that. I need to check my sources. But also, you're getting this thing called an Apex Ursine, which is this werebear. And apparently, they revealed these werebears don't start on the board. Instead, you pick a member of a unit
Oh,
of troopers, and one of them gets transformed mid-game.
old style Great Demon rolls. I love it. You love to see
So
it.
you've got these Liegeman Wardens, who are the ones that would get transformed into werebears. They look solid. They're basically druids in armor with bear skins, and again, good diversity of characters, and we get male and female sculpts designs there. Also in the core expansion, we've got some other models. The Animist is a solo, I imagine. Captain Maxim Aslanov is going to be a warcaster with a big ass axe. Looks very berserk,
Yeah.
maybe. And then we've got the Starved, which is another war beast. Looks like a character war beast that has, I would say, draws from, again, Slavic monster kind of like myths. Because again, it's got like big horns. It reminds me of stuff like a lot of folklore, like folk horror monsters that
Yeah.
we've seen in cinema recently. So that's all cool. We've also got coming out a new Trollkin faction called the Kithguard, which are basically riffing off more of the older Trollkin designs. So this one is again another Master Blaster scenario of a big troll with a pygmy troll on its back firing a massive cannon that has been stolen from Kador. So that's fun. Then we can talk about the other things that are non-minis related to do with Warmachine, and this is where it gets really interesting. We've got the roadmap, which is The next few months up until the end of May is all the Grave Diggers for Signar. Then we get Old Umbrae coming out for the next 3 months after that, up until August. After that, we get more Trollkin with the Kithguard. And then after that is a brand new army that they haven't announced yet. So
Redacted.
4 armies in a year. That's pretty good going for a company of their size.
And
Then
again, I love this kind of actual plan out roadmap because it helps you judge your spending because we're all bloody grown ups. And like, if I know,
Yeah,
I
right.
want to, so the Creole look fantastic. So I could save a couple of quid by September. Let's do that then. It helps you build high. I do not understand why Games Workshop in particular don't.
Kador's given me my Kador's given me my beast, war beast army. In effect, if I can use most of my Kador army with Old Umbrae, then I'm happy. If I can have Winter Guard toe to toe with war beasts, then that's kick ass. Right, other exciting things. They're bringing back the Press Ganger program, so that means people can. You can be involved in developing your local gaming community, and you'll get resources to help support that, along with some merch like T-shirts to show that you're a press ganger. That's good. We're also getting a printed rulebook and printed command cards that we use in the game, so they're good for that. So we're also related to printed rulebook. They're doing through a third party print-on-demand cards. So you know how we had the previous edition had cards for your models, or at least you could print them out. They're doing it so you can do it print on demand. So if you hate using the app, you can get the cards. So that's good.
Something.
They're also working with other third parties to do things like dice trays, carry cases, T-shirts, merch like that, tokens, all that stuff's going on. So that's great.
So all nice to haves, basically.
Yeah. Then also, this is the amazing thing, right, is they are bringing back 4 armies from the previous editions. So what this means is these are 4 armies which essentially, design-wise, in terms of the models, looked like the current edition. As in they were fit, the design, you could tell they're using more modern design styles.
Yeah.
So they're bringing back Infernals, Crucible Guard, Convergence Osiris, and Grimkin as available to buy.
Excellent.
Which is nuts.
I'm glad because I missed Grimkin the first time round, and I was kind of sad that.
Right, fucking the crow dudes or the guys with the pumpkin heads.
That's the ones.
And their monsters are weird as fuck. So, and Infernals I missed out on as well. Infernals had a totally unique vibe. So what's happening? What this means is it's going to be. I don't know what material they'll be doing the models in, whether they be prints, whether they be metal cast, whether they be plastic. I don't know on that yet. I think they'll mostly be resins, because these were all likely 3D sculpted. So you'll be able to buy them, but they're going to be they'll be locked, which means they're not going to ever expand these armies with brand new models in any time soon. You never say never, but they're not going to bring out new stuff for them. But that also means in the app, these armies will be tournament legal and therefore get quality of life rules rebalancing if it interacts with something in a weird way, they'll work it out and to keep them, playing. So that's expanded Warmachine then, like the current edition of Warmachine out. It's effectively doubled the armies that they've got in production, which is crazy. So that's cool. And then the last cool thing to say is the subscription model for the app. So they are going to do a subscription model for the app. So the caveat here is the rules are still free. The app is still free to use. You can still get all the rules in there, build your army, play the game. That is still free. Subscribing to the app gets you access to things like all of the lore, and they are putting more and more books out on there. They are putting out all the tournament rules on there if you subscribe. And then if you are a subscriber to it, and it gives you things like you can synchronize army lists for you through it more easily with your desktop and other devices. They are, as part of the subscription, you will get a free model. I say models. In this case, it is a journeyman warcaster and super heavy monstrosity, which is an insane thing to say. So it's a Cephalax model and a monstrosity for it. So that would be on the same scale. That monstrosity will be on the same scale as, say, the Invictus that Magnus has. They will be in hard plastic, which I cannot fucking believe, and will be available in August 2025. So August 2025, I will subscribe for $70 in a year, which is not much. $70
No.
is nothing, and you will get that. Yeah.
Like I've had a long time issue with Warhammer Plus's pricing and rewards, and this just
Right.
instantly shows you here's what you could want. Like the app itself is fantastic, and I've sang about this. I'll be quite honest. I played Warmachine ages ago, not super engaged with it. Kind of lost touch. Seeing that app and seeing how easy and simple, and then just for such a small, like the £5 a month is nothing, and you get so goddamn much, and it's such a nice thing to use, even outside of having it as a gaming aid mid game, which again, really good and really useful. And it just baffles me more companies don't do this to this extent, because it is such a good use of their time and investment. And seeing that they're putting more into that is just insane.
The last two reveals were some models for, I think, for Kithgard, which they, I think, right, is you've got the another troll, a character troll, war beast called Clangor, which has got a big meaty, covered in spikes. He's got a big meaty sword, and he's got rockets that he throws.
Get clanged.
That's like kick ass. And then the other character is a troll. It's a trollkin. So he's a regular trollkin, not a big beastie. And it's basically, what if Trollkin? This has been described. I know somewhere is, what if Trollkin did Vietnam?
Yeah, is it 2000 AD Sergeant Rock? It's him. But
yeah. So he's got a machine gun, and he's got some camo on him, and he's got a big blunderbuss, and he's got Trollkin runestones as dog tags. Yeah. So they're clearly having a lot of fun with Warmachine, and I'm really excited. Like I've been playing of it. I can't wait. Like I've been loving playing Necromunda right now, but I can't wait for my Necromunda campaign to be over to start playing like more Warmachine. It is such a good rule set, and it's been so easy to teach. Like the demo games I was running, the way I've been running demo games has generally been like, the way it works, like the first person's turn, they do all their movement and they learn how magic works, like cast a spell, buff your units. The next person moves and they learn how to do some shooting because you'll be in range, right? And maybe they might pop the feet and do some stuff. And then the next turn is generally, if things are positioned right, and as a person running the demo, you'll do this to showcase how the rule system works. You can pull off with the Kador versus Signar starter set. You can pretty much be guaranteed you should be able to try out running doing an assassination run. So you can really show how the system really has those moments where it goes, everything fits together, and you go, I do this spell, I move over halfway across the board essentially, and I attack you with everything I've got, and if I mess this up, I'm dead. Like, you get that real kind of like monumental moment, and that's been a lot of fun. So I can't wait to do the same also with the Shadows and Scum set once I've got it all painted up, because I haven't been running demos with that, and I want to run demos with that. And I also want to run demos with one of those command cadres against one of the Warjack cadres, because I think there's a lot of fun right now with just doing command cadre matchups, because there's already about 6 or 7 in the game, so you could pretty much get your mates together, buy a command cadre, and just do a round robin kind of pseudo kind of tournament, just playing command cadre versus command cadre. A bit like Spearhead, but better.
I was going to say, like, well, the way this game's designed, it lends itself so much better to that kind of gradual escalation. Like you don't, most Games Workshop's rule sets kind of fall away when at lower points ends, which is why they have to do distinct rule sets for these smaller boxes,
Exactly.
which is not really an issue with Warmachine.
Oh yeah, the other thing that was previewed that I haven't seen the rules for yet is that giant cannon that Signar
Oh,
have.
okay.
It's like, what the hell are Gravedigger's doing? They've got this massive, absolutely
That's
chock
fine.
off cannon. It's wow.
I think that's it, isn't it?
So other things I know from Adepticon, there's some more Star Wars Legion stuff coming out, and more Shatterpoint stuff. Like, I'm not massively into the Star Wars war games,
No,
so
the
I
Shatterpoint
can't
stuff
really
is
say
the
more.
model's beautiful, but it's just priced a bit out of what I want to be spending
It's
on a
really
war game.
pricey, isn't it?
Yeah, especially.
Then I know from Mantic is coming a new kind of starter set ish for Halo,
I think they're doing
which
a bigger one, aren't they?
the models look pretty
Oh yeah,
good.
they're doing expansion as well, which again looks nice, but I will engage with it at some point, but not now. I've got enough of my hobby played.
And I can't really think. I think Corvus Belli showed off some more Infinity and Warcrow, so that seems to be doing well.
I've been out of the Infinity Loop for a couple of years now, so
Yeah,
they are fantastic with their model refreshes and keeping the range kind of current all the time, which is great. But I'm out of that at the moment.
yeah. And that's pretty much all I can say on like stuff that's releases and what we're
Yeah,
excited about. So yeah, I think we you and me need to get some Warmachine in at some point. Like,
absolutely.
either I need to pop down to Nottingham and drive down there, or vice versa, or do whatever. That'll be good. Because I've
We
got a
should
lot of
rock up to
stuff.
Warhammer with our war machines on put on tail, see what it's like.
Oh god, the fucking slaughter me. Um so I think the reason why it's been interesting looking at these two main releases is there feels like there's a very different energies going on. I
Yeah,
feel like from Games Workshop, specialist games are having a lot of fun.
yeah,
Like, you look at Necromunda, you look at Blood Bowl, you look at any of that, they're having fun and bringing out stuff. Whereas the main lines, I feel like, are exhausted. And the thing was, like, apparently at Adepticon, they were literally like almost giving away boxes of Scaventide.
it does track. I know the previous box got
Yeah,
massively overproduced compared to demand and was going for nothing in second hand market.
and yeah, and while like for, I would say, Steamforged, like obviously there were other things they will have announced at Adepticon for, like, you know, their licensed products, like, you know, Elden Ring and so forth. But Warmachine, I think I don't. The thing is, right, I don't think they would not have done an announcement like this if they did not have the sales numbers to back up
Oh yeah,
that they could do this.
there's an energy to it. You can tell that everything's going well for them, and there's a plan to it.
So yeah, I'm thoroughly excited for the year ahead and to do some more Warmachine content, like to do some more like some drill downs into the factions and some of the synergies. Maybe start doing some streaming, some painting again, because I've now got more cameras. So many more cameras. And then also, like, maybe actually play at a tournament, because I feel with Warmachine, I feel like to play at a tournament is actually, I feel like that negative, like, really overly aggressive tournament players have, you know, may have moved system. Like,
I'm hoping so.
they're
It's
elsewhere.
what, yeah, probably play 40k.
Yeah. And the other thing is, Warmachine, they've made a big thing of their announcement to make narrative play. They're trying to push for Warmachine. So I'm keen on really exploring that space. Like, I want to do trench warfare with Warmachine. I want to do, you know, we've got Old Umbre. I want to do like look at like the wilderness expanse of Kador, and I'll mostly get a battle map and
Yeah,
do some terrain that's very snowy,
yeah,
because
let the setting and scenario dictate the rules and like
yeah,
the army
like,
balances.
yeah, can you imagine like Warmachine, where you've got like you know, like your battles taking place on a frozen lake or something like that.
Yeah,
That would be
Yeah, objectives
that'd be really cool.
the heavies can't reach. Like that instantly changes the dynamic if it's on thin ice.
Yeah, right. So I
Yeah,
think stuff like that's going to be really interesting. Obviously, the RPG is going from strength to strength. Like Strange Light PDFs have gone out to backers. I'm trying to get my copies of that. I need to bug Steamforge because I wrote for that. Yeah, so I think it's quite good, and I think again combined with everything we've seen like at Chillcon and stuff, I feel like other war games are doing quite well right now because I think people are just sick of are exhausted by 40k. Like Trench Crusade has now gone out to backers. We didn't even say that. Like I've got my minis through. I need to put together.
That's what all I've been painting this week as well. So that's the fact they slipped both of our minis tells you how much is going on.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. At Chillcon, they had a guy there was doing demonstrations of using oils.
Oh yeah.
So I feel, having watched that, I now feel a bit more confident in what I'm going to do with oil paints on mine.
It's fine. If you're varnishing between your layers and kind of saving your states, it's hard to mess up.
Well, yeah, and he said like you don't need to, like, as long as you've done your base coats with your and stuff with your acrylics, like you don't need to varnish. Actually, you only need to varnish if you want to get a good pin wash going on. Yeah. Which, if you're not doing marines and tanks, like you're not going to do pin washes.
Varnish, the spirits can lift off some metallics and stuff because the medium element's a bit more fragile. So it is generally worth varnishing between stages. But it's not.
So yeah, I will get into doing that. I will also, as I said, I got on eBay a first edition Hador starter set. So they're metal. This box is quite heavy for just 3 models.
It's your murder weapon.
So there's that. I am eyeing up also a new inbox first edition box. Well, I say first edition. Yeah, it would be Magnus the Traitor battle group. So that would be very, because do you know what I'm interested in doing is if I get that battle box as well, I'd be quite intrigued by playing Warmachine first edition, just for shits and giggles.
Just for comparison.
Yeah, I think there's I just want to know, like, I want to get a feel for how much the system hasn't changed. I really think it really hasn't changed that much.
It's probably worth it as well because like, so many people that you're giving demonstrations to have not played in a few editions. So if you've got that reference point, like, I can remember exactly how first or second edition played and what the differences. It makes it easier for you to give those demos. So it makes sense.
So thank you again for your time. Anyone that's been listening, thank you. And that's it for now. So goodbye.
Goodbye.